While I was at Gamescom, I got to see a bunch of pretty awesome stuff, and it made me realize that the end of 2015 is going to be one of the craziest times for game releases I think I've ever seen. So today I wanted to put together a little bit of a quick video just showing you a couple of the amazing upcoming titles set for release in the next couple of months, so you know what you've got to look forward to. And if there's one thing for certain, there has never been a better time to be a gamer. Now, first up, let's take a look at the infamous Just Cause 3, which is being released on the 1st of December this year. Far from a tactical shooter, Just Cause is known for its completely insane gameplay. Rico Rodriguez, I'm probably pronouncing that all wrong, returns to the island of Medici, where he's attempting to stop General Di Ravello, I think that's how you say it, a pretty typical villain with your standard goals of world domination, yada yada yada. Nobody really cares about that, because what makes Just Cause so great is the completely insane and over-the-top gameplay with some pretty questionable physics. You've got wingsuits, parachutes, grapple hooks, and a buttload of explosives, all the tools you need to have a good time on a tropical island. The grapple is probably the most iconic part of the game, and you can use that to jump around, latch onto vehicles, and even do crazy things like tie a bus to an aeroplane just to see what happens. If you're a fan of destructible sandbox playgrounds, you don't need to look any further than Just Cause 3. Now, on the total other end of the spectrum, we've got Rainbow Six Siege. I made a video on this last week. If you haven't seen that, I'll put a link to it down in the description. But basically, this game is like Counter-Strike on steroids. It is a hyper tactical shooter, and while there are a ton of possible game modes, the most popular one that I think is going to exist is the 5v5 attack-defend between counter-terrorists and terrorists. The terrorists set up inside these small buildings protecting some kind of objective. Normally it's a bomb or a hostage, something like that, and they can set up a bunch of defenses to protect it, like barbed wire, C4, and even board up doors and windows. It's then up to the CTs to try and break through that defense and secure the objective. The developers seem to get a little bit out of control, adding in as many tactical features as possible, from things as simple as just sledgehammers that you can use to break down walls and doors. The environments do seem to be almost completely destructible, by the way, and then all the way down to things like grenades that burrow through walls and then blow up anything on the other side. It's kinda insane, and all of that stuff combines to create what is, for me at least, the most realistic and SWAT-like tactical shooter I think I've ever played. One part of the game that makes me just a little bit sad is that they've made the game a class-based one, where attackers and defenders have got a number of set loadouts they can choose from. I'm personally a bigger fan of being able to customize your loadouts, and the crazy level of customization that existed in its predecessors, like Vegas 2, was just unbelievable, and it adds just a ton of depth to the game when you discover these new strategies and weapon combinations to get a leg up over the enemy. But hey, who knows, maybe that's something they'll change in the future, or maybe I'm totally wrong. It's definitely having those set loadouts is something that makes game balance much, much simpler. The real test for Siege is going to be if it can develop into a competitive shooter, because that definitely seems to be what the developers are aiming for. At Gamescom, they debuted this pretty awesome new spectator camera mode. Here you can see my entire team abseiling up the side of a building, setting up charges, ready to breach through the windows, while the terrorists are inside waiting for us, wondering if we're going to come from the floor below, or maybe blow a hole in the roof, when we're actually about to come through the windows. The fact that they put a ton of time into developing something like this, instead of just, you know, going with the standard spectator cam that most games have, makes me think that they're really wanting this to take off as a tournament game. It's definitely got a lot of the slow-paced tactical strategy you see in popular esports shooters like Counter-Strike. Now they need a skins in a few cases, and it'll be on its way. Rainbow Six Siege goes into a closed beta on September 24. I'll see if I can maybe get my hands on some more codes to share with you guys if you want to give that a go when it comes out. And then the full game is released on October 13. So next up, yes, it's Overwatch. While there's no concrete date announced for this game yet, Overwatch is going to be going into a closed beta sometime in the next couple of months. My bet is that it's going to happen sometime around BlizzCon. Overwatch is a game that I'm always pretty nervous to talk about on my channel. TF2 players seem to be kind of split down the middle on it at the moment, between the people who are really excited for it, like me, or the ones who are just kind of searching for reasons to hate it, which I really don't understand. It's really frustrating for me because it's a game that I think you're all going to love once you've actually given it a go, and all these people going in kind of looking for reasons to hate it I don't know, it just confuses me. But it really is pretty awesome seeing how all these different heroes and their abilities synergize together so well. And while I'd occasionally run off and do my own thing as like a tracer on the side of the map and just go lone wolf style, it was those moments where the entire team comes together to push and take an objective at the same time that just feels so awesome, especially when you start dropping 3 or 4 ults all at the same time. And it's pretty much always the case that the team that works together best is the team that's going to come out on top. One other feature in Overwatch that I absolutely love is what's called play of the game, where at the end of each round the game automatically detects who made the best play throughout that entire match, and then it shows it to everyone. A lot of games in the past have done what's called a final kill cam, where it shows the last kill of the round, but play of the game with the best kill is just infinitely better. And it's this awesome mechanic because at the end of every round people are getting excited, you know, oh, did I get the play of the game? Or even if you didn't get it, you always get to see something really, really awesome. Once you see it, it just seems like such an obvious thing to include, and I really can't believe that no one's ever done it before. But anyway, Overwatch is really, really fun. It's really, really addictive. It's being developed by Blizzard, so you know it's going to be good. With any luck, the game should be in open beta in the next few months, and I really think that once you guys give it a go, you're gonna love it. So, next up we got Star Wars Battlefront, probably one of the most hyped games of 2015. This comes out on November 17 on PC and next-gen consoles. Most of you probably would have played the original games, but if you haven't, I definitely recommend going onto Steam and picking up Battlefront 2 for $10. Jump in for a few games, play against some bots, and just see what makes this franchise so special. Combining the massive battles alongside with the Star Wars universe is something which is just always going to be awesome, and it's being developed by DICE, who are kind of the kings of making those massive multiplayer shooters. DICE does have a bit of a spotty history sometimes. They seem to go from producing absolute masterpieces of games to others which are a little bit of a letdown, and I was really worried that Battlefield could end up in a pile alongside some of their less successful games. That was until I played it. Everything about this game felt polished. The graphics, the sound design, the gunplay, it was all awesome. And I had a ton of fun flying around with the jetpack, which is just this really great little short mobility option. It might not seem like that big a thing, but it's just something that I absolutely loved. And if you actually manage to go on a big enough streak, you can also play as some of the cooler characters like Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, and I think even Han Solo in one of their newly announced game modes. And they all look pretty terrifying to go up against. There were some features from the original games that aren't present in Battlefront, things like space battles, which was one of the coolest bits in the old games. They did announce a feature called Squadron Fighter at Gamescom, which looks slightly like space battles, just a little bit less cool. And I'm still hoping that they add the full space battles mode before release, or knowing DICE, more likely as a DLC a few months down the line.
Imperial Walker has been taken out.
It's not a AAA game, it doesn't have a budget of $500 million, but TrackMania is a series that I've always absolutely loved. This was the game that I'd sit and play for hours, just chilling in the back of my Year 8 history class, goofing off, trying to get the best times I could in every course. I've never really been a big fan of those hyper-realistic racing games, but TrackMania, with its just unbelievably crazy tracks, insane physics, and really intense arcade-style gameplay, is one of the few driving games that I've really ever fallen in love with. TrackMania Turbo, the newest addition to the franchise, comes out on November 27, but if you haven't tried this series before, I'd really recommend jumping onto Steam, picking up one of its predecessors and giving it a go, because this game is like crack cocaine in game form. Now, I obviously couldn't end this video without mentioning Fallout 4. Fallout 3 was one of the most critically acclaimed games of all time, and it ended up with an average reviewer score of over 90%. And from the looks of it, Fallout 4 might just surpass its predecessor, with people already calling it 2015's Game of the Year 3 months before it's even released. This game looks to be bringing back all the things that made the previous games great, including the massive open world exploration, great storytelling, and of course, everyone's favorite, the VATS targeting system. But alongside all these old classic components, they're adding a bunch of really cool new features like base customization, which I am really excited to try out. Fallout 4 is set for release on November 10 for PC and next-gen consoles. There are so many other games I wish I could mention. No Man's Sky looks really cool. It's this galactic exploring type game with 18 quintillion planets. You've got The Division, Metal Gear Solid, Phantom Pain, Hitman. There are just so many amazing games coming out in the next few months. There's just not time to talk about them all, but either way, this is one thing I know for sure. It is a great time to be a gamer, and we've got some seriously awesome things coming up very soon.